Fall is the most underrated season by far. That's a hill I'll die on any day. My love for the fall doesn't revolve around pumpkin spice lattes or Halloween parties as you might expect, but rather the crisp air, the colorful leaves, and the quiet serenity of the outdoors. When the leaves start to turn, I guarantee I spend more hours outside than in. It was a cool October night a few autumns ago when this happened. I was 19 at the time. For context, there's a sprawling abandoned amusement park near my town. When I say sprawling, I mean it. Over 200 acres of eerie, dilapidated rides and attractions. To this day, there are still sections I haven't explored. Two of my friends and I decided to spend a night exploring the park. Technically, trespassing there was strictly forbidden and borderline illegal, but we figured there was no chance someone would catch us. We just had to be careful and stay hidden. Jake was the urban explorer of the group. This guy loved old, abandoned places and probably knew more about urban legends than anyone else I knew. Our other friend, Chris, was the comic relief. He could lighten up any situation, and we knew we'd need that on this adventure. I remember the feeling of the cool fall breeze as we packed up our gear. The weather was perfect, not too cold, not too warm. A few jokes later, the three of us found ourselves sneaking through the old park gates at around 10:30 p.m. I can't lie, the sight of the rusted rides looming in the moonlight was both creepy and thrilling. Jake always carried this high-powered flashlight with him, so the darkness of the park wasn't much of an issue. As much as I loved the outdoors, walking through an abandoned amusement park at this hour was a bit unnerving, even with Jake's flashlight on hand. After nearly an hour of exploring and climbing over broken fences, the three of us found ourselves near the old Ferris wheel, which was our agreed rendezvous point. We set up our gear at the base of the Ferris wheel and sat on some old benches. Jake, of course, started telling ghost stories, while Chris kept cracking jokes to keep the mood light. We must have been there for a good 2 hours, talking and laughing, when things took a strange turn. Just as Chris was about to tell another joke, a sudden, distant, echoing laughter broke the silence. I nearly jumped out of my seat, my heart pounding. It wasn't the kind of laugh you'd expect from a person. It was hollow and distorted, almost mechanical. As soon as the laughter started, I quickly grabbed my phone and began recording. This was the laughter we had heard. Jake quickly turned off the flashlight, and the three of us sat in darkness, straining to hear more. The laughter stopped as abruptly as it had started, and the park seemed eerily quiet. Not even the usual creaks and groans you'd expect from old structures. I replayed the sound in my head. It was almost as if it came from one of the old attractions. Chris was visibly shaken, and Jake, for once, looked worried. We debated whether we should leave, but curiosity got the better of us, and we decided to stay put and wait. Another 15 minutes passed in tense silence. Just as we started to relax a bit, a faint glow appeared from the direction of the funhouse. It wasn't a steady light, more like a flickering candle. Jake, ever the brave one, suggested we check it out, but Chris and I were reluctant. Still, our curiosity pulled us forward. As we approached the funhouse, the flickering light suddenly went out, and we were plunged into darkness again. The silence was suffocating. Then, out of nowhere, a high-pitched, distorted music started playing from inside the funhouse. The good part is that I left my phone recording the entire time, and it also caught this. It was the kind of music you'd hear from a broken carousel. My blood ran cold, and Chris muttered something about this being a bad idea. Jake, undeterred, moved forward, urging us to follow. The entrance to the funhouse was slightly ajar, and Jake pushed it open. The music stopped immediately, and we were met with pitch darkness inside. Jake's flashlight beam cut through the black, revealing broken mirrors and decaying props. We cautiously stepped inside, every creak and groan of the floorboards setting us on edge. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind us with a loud bang. We all jumped, and Chris let out a yelp. The flashlight flickered and then died, plunging us into total darkness. We fumbled to find our way back to the door, but it wouldn't budge. Panic set in as we pounded on the door, trying to force it open. In the pitch black, I heard the hollow laughter again, this time closer, and then a whisper right behind me. "Welcome to the funhouse," it hissed. I screamed, and we all started banging on the door harder. Miraculously, it suddenly gave way, and we stumbled out into the night, tripping over each other in our haste to get away. We didn't stop running until we were well outside the park gates. We collapsed on the ground, panting and shaking. None of us spoke on the drive back, each lost in our thoughts. The next day, Jake was insistent on returning to find out what had happened, but Chris and I refused. We had seen and heard enough. That abandoned amusement park could keep its secrets. We never spoke of that night again, and to this day, the memory of that hollow laughter and the whisper in the dark still haunts me.